As with the other spreadsheets, macros must be enabled, and the Excel add-on At Risk is required to run a probabilistic analysis. The yellow shaded cells are where values are to be pasted from the RMC PFM risk spreadsheet. Yellow shaded cells outlined in red are where formulas are to be pasted from the RMC PFM risk spreadsheet. The spreadsheet can accommodate up to 10 potential failure modes. Starting on the Cover Sheet tab, input PFM numbers and short descriptions for the failure modes into the table. Worksheets for each potential failure mode will appear automatically, but the failure mode numbers must be unique, and the PFMs must be input one at a time. Next, select the vertical datum from the drop-down menu on the right, or just type in the project datum into the box. The elevation data must be consistent across all spreadsheets. Moving to the PFM worksheets. The data for these worksheets will come directly from the RMC PFM risk spreadsheet that you filled out for each failure mode. To start bringing in the data, copy the team elicitation summary from the Risk Calculations tab of the RMC PFM risk spreadsheet and paste these values into cell C6. Copy the entire table, not just the stages and the nodes that have data. Select an interpolation method for the PFM from the drop-down menu. Options include linear, semi-logarithmic, and z-variant. Next, copy the Considering Intervention Nodal Estimate table from the RMC PFM risk spreadsheet and paste these formulas into cell F70. Again, this time we are pasting formulas, not values, because the cells are outlined in a red box. For the next table, copy the annual exceedance probability input table and the assigned probability distributions from the RMC PFM risk spreadsheet and paste its values into cell C209. For the PFM consequences, copy the exposure rates from the RMC PFM risk spreadsheet and paste into cell D321. Select a distribution to match using the drop-down menu and click Execute. Copy the breach life loss, non-breach life loss, and economic tables from the RMC PFM risk spreadsheet and paste into the RMC project risk spreadsheet. If you are using percentile sampling, the input tables will be to the right of the tables shown here, but the procedure is essentially the same. If necessary, update the correlation matrices in the RMC project risk spreadsheet to match those to the RMC PFM risk spreadsheet. In continuing to work down the PFM worksheet, use the buttons to add or remove the non-exceedance. Then, copy the stage partitions from the RMC PFM risk spreadsheet and paste them into cell C430. This completes the input for the first failure mode. If other potential failure modes are being evaluated, go to the worksheet for the next PFM. Click the button in the top left corner to set up the worksheet. The button will change from a triangle to an X. The spreadsheet can be cleared of all formulas by pressing the X. All unused sheets should be cleared for formulas prior to running an at-risk simulation. From here, repeat the prior steps for all other PFMs. Just note that the loading and the non-breach consequences will already be populated in the worksheet. Once all the data for each potential failure mode has been entered, the last thing we need to do is to go to the SRP Adjustments tab to assign how the potential failure modes will be combined. Use the drop-down menu to choose a risk model and, if necessary, to assign a dominant failure mode. Only one failure mode can be dominant. If a failure mode is dominant, the other failure modes cannot occur unless the dominant failure mode does not occur. A dominant failure mode can only be chosen for the exclusive and common cause adjustment risk models. A dominant failure mode cannot be assigned when using the competing risk model. Next, you have the option to make adjustments to combine similar failure modes. If the same potential failure mode is evaluated in multiple sections, or multiple exit locations are evaluated for the same failure path, the individual system response curve should be combined into a single curve by selecting the maximum system response probability at each peak stage. To combine similar failure modes in this manner, write an if statement for each stage to assign the failure mode with the maximum system response probability, a 1, and the other failure mode of the group, a value of 0. If a given failure mode is not being combined with any others as described above, assign a value of 1 for each stage. You'll need to do this for both tables, with and without intervention. We now have everything we need to run a simulation, but before doing so, check the settings. The appropriate at-risk settings for a government computer should be preset in the spreadsheet, but the at-risk settings can be checked by clicking on the settings icon. Under the General tab, multiple CPU simulations should be disabled unless you're using a non-government computer or an air-gapped computer. Under the Sampling tab, Smart Sensitivity Analysis should also be disabled. The number of iterations should be set to at least 10,000. Click Simulate to begin the simulation. Two dialog boxes will pop up. Click Yes both times to continue the simulation. After running the simulation, you can review the tabular results on the incremental, non-breach, and residual risk tabs. But to plot the simulation results, you'll need to use the Risk Summary and Plots template. When you save the spreadsheet, a dialog box will pop up asking you how you want to save the simulation data. When files get large, it is best to save the data as an external file. Save the data file in the same folder as the spreadsheet.